So this is June the 15th, 2012. I'm going to play some songs that my mom first learned on the mandolin when she was 9 or 10. She just died recently here about May the 26th. She lived about 5 days past her 95th birthday. But she didn't, she always told us she's going to live to be 100, but she was just about 5 years short there. But anyway, I always asked her, like, what's the first songs you ever learned on your mandolin? Like, her dad had given her one when she was about 9 or 10 years old. And she said he just handed it to her one day and said, here, play this thing. So she learned pretty well on her own. Her dad played the guitar and sang old songs, and he was a fiddle player too. So I asked her lots of times, what's the first song you ever learned, or the first couple? And she always said, well, Old Black Joe and the Old Log Cabin for Sale are the ones she remembers picking them out first. And we did a little research on the Old Black Joe, and it was wrote during the Civil War by Stephen Foster. He'd got peeved off with all his friends going to war and not coming back, so he wrote that song. And my mom wasn't a singer, but her dad sang that song, and she learned to pick it out on the mandolin. And then the other one that her dad sang was the Old Log Cabin for Sale. And that's probably the first or second one, whatever one, Black Joe, or the Old Log Cabin for Sale. One of them she learned first, and then the other one second. And the Old Log Cabin for Sale, the words on the one line are, there's an old log cabin for sale. And I always add in, well, $25 are offers, eh? So anyways, I'll play them two songs and then a couple of their favorite gospel tunes that she picked out. So we'll start off with Old Black Joe, and it goes something like this in the key of G. Log Cabin, I'll do that one in C. Try two of her favorite hymns. One was One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus, I guess is the words, instrumental version. most favorite one probably that she always played was Whispering Hope. And we happened to find one of her old cassette tapes when she died there with a Willie Nelson version of it, and we played that at the funeral. And anyway, it's I'll try a little bit of it here. Whispering Hope. This Gibson guitar here is going to tell a little bit about it. A fella that was a friend of my mom and dad's, Albert, I'll just say his first name, sold his farm out here north of Drumheller a few miles. Went on a big binge. I guess he got maybe 50,000 or 75,000 for it was a quarter section, and he went through that money like it was just water, eh? In the bar he was buying rounds for everybody. Giving $100 bills to just about anybody that walked by and tell them to go get him a bottle or something and keep the change. He'd done that many times. But after my dad died, got killed in 1963 there, we saw a taxi coming up to our house in Knackmine, and Albert, we don't know anybody that rides in a taxi. It was Albert. He came with this guitar. Taxi driver sat out and waited, and he came in, and my sister Marie was about 11 at the time, or 12, singing and playing the guitar, going to talent shows and that, winning the odd one. And so he says to Marie, you sing me 3 songs and you can have this guitar, eh? So she did, and that's the way we got it, eh? And then now, a few years after that, Marie gave up singing, and she sold it to me for $1, made out a bill of sale for $1 to make it legal. So then it was my guitar, and then I gave it to my oldest daughter, Sandra, when she was learning to play, and then she gave up playing, and then she lent it back to me, or gave it back to me, and I told her, well, it's still your guitar, eh? Anything happens to me, it's yours, so that's why I've got it. And it's a 1962 Gibson. It's a B25 model, and I remember they first started, well, in my guitar book here, a history book on guitars, it says they made them from the early 60s, which this is, a 62 till 1977, then they changed to a different model. But this one's pretty good sounding and everything for a Gibson. I guess it was when Gibsons were still making really nice guitars and nice sounding ones. Later on after that, in the 70s and 80s, they went downhill a bit. But so this one's, that's how I got this one. I want to play 2 songs that I first learned when I was a young punk, about 12 or 13. The first song I ever learned to pick out was, and I'm not a singer either, I can't sing a note, and neither could my mom or dad, but they could all pick out tunes. But I learned how to play the Wildwood Flower, an old Carter family song, which my dad and all his brothers all grew up with and loved all their songs, so I heard them from the time I was born till whenever, eh? And then I got to like their playing too. So the Wildwood Flower, they first recorded in 1927. That was their first song, and it took off on the radios. You know, the country people and just loved that kind of music. So that was their biggest and first hit anyway. And so I'll try to play a bit of it in the chord of C here, and then I'm going to switch right to the chord of E. And the second tune I ever learned, as far as I can remember, was Marching Through Georgia on the high string. So I'll play them 2 right now here.